Let's take a look at a practice problem dealing with statistics and probability for 6th grade. So it looks like Riley takes 5 tests in science class, and each of these test scores are going to be different. First, we're told that each of these tests is going to be a different score, so they're all going to be unique. And then we're told that the mean score, or the average score, is going to be 90%. Alright, cool. The next thing we're told is that the median, or the middle score, is going to be 85%. Let's go ahead and use these 3 bits of information to find out 2 different statements that are going to be true that are below here. So questions like this can definitely be confusing, but let's go ahead and set up 5 different blanks here for the 5 different scores from least to greatest. Remember, all 5 of these scores are going to be unique here, and we also know that the middle grade or the middle score here is going to be 85%. Remember, the median always has to go in the middle. Now, if we're thinking about these scores being in order from least to greatest, then these 2 scores over here have to be less than 85%, and these 2 scores over here have to be greater than 85%. Now, in terms of what these exact percentages are, we don't know, but we could come up with some hypotheticals or just think logically about what they could be. Let's start looking at the answer choices a little bit. For option A, it says more than half of the scores were 85% or greater. Well, let's see here. There are 5 scores. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It says more than half are going to be 85% or greater. So we know this one's going to be 85% or greater. We know this one also will be, and this one also will be. So that's going to be 3 different scores that are 85% or higher. So I think this is true because 3 out of 5 scores, that's more than half. So this option A actually does make a lot of sense here. 3 out of the 5 science tests that Riley took have to be 85% or greater. Now for option B, it says more than half of the scores have to be 90% or greater. Now this one could be 90% and this one could be 91%. These could be 90% or greater, I guess technically, but this percentage in the middle of 85% has to be 85% because it's the median here. So this one just can't be true. For option C, it says that there are no scores that are less than 85%. That one just can't be true because these percentages over here, these scores have to be less than 85% if this 85% is the median, right? If it's in the middle, there have to be scores that are lower than that. So this one here doesn't make sense. For option D, it says there are no scores that are less than 90%. Well, that one actually doesn't make sense at all just because we know that this 85% exists, and actually these ones on the left side have to be less than that as well. So all 3 of these are going to be less than 90%. So this one also doesn't make sense. For E, it says at least one score is exactly 85%. Well, again, we've said that this 85% has to exist as the median here because there's an odd number of data values. 85% has to go in the middle, so 85% exists at least once. So this one is definitely true. At this point, we've already checked off 2 different statements that are true. The directions do say that we're selecting 2 here, so this last one can't be true. It says, though, it says at least one score was exactly 90%, and that just doesn't have to be true. This one could be 95%, and this one could be 100%. These don't have to be 90, right? So this last one doesn't really make sense in terms of it doesn't have to be true necessarily. So these are going to be our 2 answer choices. We should go with A as well as E.